ducks are drinking wine. Barbas. Barbas, okay, barbas is ducks. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon.
Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. Sotto 4 grossi sassi, 4 grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Facile. Sì, ecco, la gente, è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo, io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma poi... dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io.
A computer or what? And here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or, but sounds vaguely like Hogun and the hook in Hogun in Korean or Waku in Japanese, and that appears it is the exact same kind of character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur, c'est son chassé, ses chassés sont son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach, drum dank dem dicken Dachdecker, dass der dicke Dachdecker dir dein Dach deckt. Hola y bienvenidos al directo de Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. Yo soy Elisa, traductora, escritora y editora y comunicadora social con más de 20 idiomas de trabajo. Y aquí vamos a estar jugando videojuegos, sobre todo GeoGuessr, y hablando de idioma, la mejor forma de aprenderlo y caleta más. Zwei Zwetschgenzweigen zwitscherten zwei tschechische Schwalben. Tres tristes tigres tragaban trigo en un trigal en tres tristes trastos.
Oh, I see. This is Diche Ishai Boyd, which means do you want food? But yeah, are you hungry? That kind of thing. How are the boys? Cocine da boy. Posso Milao. Pote. When is it? Proteine. Topulo. In the designated chicken-eating area, obviously.
Okay, still 3 times I have to defeat him. And I don't have a whole lot of health left.
Monsieur.
See.
Livre. Liwe, livre. Paks.
Mustan kissan paksut posket.
Macieje.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sí. Vysoký. Proč? Inter. Počkej. A. Si.
Track 6.
Aspri Petra xes aspri apton ilio xex asproteri. Aspri Petra xes aspri apton ilio xes asproteri.
Ten coginio panas.
Oh boy.
Da ferad verda ferra ferda vedri.
Jacob. Hefed.
Hefed.
Hefed.
Hefed.
Hefed. Hefed. Hek. Hek. Hek.
Саша по шоссе.
А Саша по шоссе несла сушку на счастье и сосала сушку. А Саша по шоссе несла сушку на счастье и сосала сушку.
Mwalimu.
Ah, this is Arabic. And it's from Mu'allim.
Juma ni mwalimu mke.
Ирак чима в чипах чемп чавю ченчи чини. Чирак чима в чипа да, чирак чима в чипцах чемп чавю ченчи чини. Акакит альшит. Хикрин. Акакит альши хикрин. Akakit alshi krikrips.
Oh, things speak cat sounds. Meow and the pictures of the fish. That's they were proud.
Sööpel. Kubu. Üritavad. Uraista. Omena.
Are in the city center. And it's got some interesting aspects to it.
여자는 어느 나라에 있습니까? 여자는 어느 나라에 있습니까? 여자는 어느 나라에 있습니까?
Countries or living things.
兄の名前は
Lo que pasa es que bueno, la banera, y esto se ve en tantos lugares, no es cuestión regional, sino más bien de un problema fundamental de la pedagogía oficial de los idiomas extranjeros, y que la manera en que se enseñan en tantos lugares, en las clases, en el colegio, no tiene nada que ver con el estado actual de la investigación sobre lo que se llama adquisición de idioma.
Doesn't, you can try something else.
In fact, I would say often you really know you're getting it with languages if you can't really explain why something's right, but you just bloody well know it's right. Hi, and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I am Elise, translator, editor, and writer with 20 working languages, and this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games.
Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital
還元一級の先というのは、本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は、
Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Morfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okula giderim. Oyun. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is squab, and that also means elephant. Okay.
Ça, ça, ah c'est ça, que c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça. Sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco. Bienvenue à Hyperpolyglotting avec Élise. Moi, c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça, c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout GeoGuessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Night. Night. Come on. Yen. Yo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Bangba, okay, Bangbas is ducks. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now.
Hello and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I'm Elise, translator, writer, and editor with 20 working languages, and I've forgotten to set up my microphone, so we're gonna do that right now. There we go. Wait, that is... Let's just see. That seems like it is actually... Okay, let's try that again. And this is the stream where we're gonna play some GeoGuessr and talk about languages and language learning and translation and all that good stuff. And let me just... where are my windows? Okay. Now, my top score on the world map is 24,991 points. And we're going to see if I can beat that. I've come very close a few times. Okay. Huh, very rural. Those buses might be helpful if they're still there when I arrive. Okay. That is Gujarati. I can't read Gujarati, but I know what it looks like. That certainly narrows things down a little bit. So we are probably someplace in Gujarat. Where exactly in Gujarat is another question. Let's see. $43.64. Not too bad. I should have gone for Ahmedabad. I think that is the state capital. Okay. North America, US or Canada, judging from those mailboxes. So, last week we had a little break from streaming because I was participating in the annual online polyglot conference, which is a great event. Really. Hola André, ¿cómo vai? Estava participando da conferência dos políglotas em linha a semana passada. It's a great event. You basically just meet all sorts of just amazing people, just great language obsessives from around the world. And there are like talks about all sorts of like language and language learning related topics, and it's great. It's always worth going to. It's one of 2 polyglot events I always try to participate. Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Okay. So far I haven't seen anything that tells us... Oh, that's posh. Statue of a horse. How is the sound, by the way? Hey, Riveroon, how you doing? So I was noticing it was like going into the red a second ago, so I actually turned it down a bit. I just want to be sure that it is not either cutting out and like too much gain, or and that you're having no trouble hearing me and stuff. As we look around and try to figure out what US or Canadian suburb we are in. Let's see. Never seen a reddish orange. Oh, it was. It was. It's always good. You see a lot of the same people every year and a few new faces. Organics. Okay, interesting. Oh wait, there's something written on top that I can't really make out. So we will carry on in search of a speed limit sign or something. And this font is a bit different too. Okay, state law. Okay, we're in the US. They don't have state laws in Canada, so they don't do states. Somewhere in the US, someplace rather suburban. I'm thinking northern central. This is definitely not... Yes, I do indeed play chess. Okay, we've got a main street. That is always helpful. Oh, hang on, that's a palm tree. Now, all of a sudden, I'm beginning to doubt my assumption that this is northern. A ver. So definitely in the US. Less certain about the region now that I saw that one palm tree. Well, the thing about chess is it's actually really simple to learn to play initially, but then it immediately gets very complicated. Because, I mean, there's like knowing how the pieces move and who goes first and that stuff, which isn't too bad. That's California, I think. But then there are tactics, which can be a bit complicated, especially recognizing when there are openings for them, and then there's like opening systems and stuff like that. Might play a bit of chess on stream if people are interested. Do like chess puzzles or something. Montecito. Feel like that's I feel like that's California. I feel, but I'm not actually entirely sure where. Atacadero. Interesting name. A place where things get jammed. Chino Pomona. Alhambra, Hidden Springs. Well, this doesn't really look... This neighborhood doesn't really look like Southern California. It looks much more like Northern. Southern California looks a lot like Chile. Okay, here we go. Main road. Those are very helpful. I'm going the wrong way on it, though. Is there perhaps more informative stuff elsewhere? Let's see, does that truck possibly tell us something? Quality work done right. That doesn't tell me what I need to know. Okay, it looks like a California license there. So that much is clear. Hazelaar. Very Dutch. .650 area code. That does not tell me anything. Hello, Hexen Definitive. How are you doing? We are someplace in California. As we bugger about trying to figure out where exactly. What's that sign say? Fremont Avenue, Miramonte Avenue, Loyola Drive. Oh wait, that could have been something. Nothing particularly helpful. Interstate 280. Let's see, where? Okay, I've never heard of Interstate 280. There's 880. Oh, 280. I knew Northern California. Lo gato. Oh, there's Loyola. East. Okay. Oh, yes, Anna Kremling. I like her. I watch her occasionally. Another good, like, educational chess channel, it's also just very enjoyable to watch, is Anna Rudolph. She has done some great, like, educational chess content, and she's just enjoyable to watch. Well, how about after this round of GeoGuessr, we do that? I haven't done chess on here in a while. Willow Glen, Fruitvale. Well, we know it's near 280. San Jose, Alameda, Santa Clara. The number of lost people? Duh. Oh, Sunnyvale. That's where Joshua's phone number is, and if you know the reference, then you know. $49.69, not bad. Okay. Pretty wooded area. So far, not much signposting going on. Oh, there's something there. Can't quite make it out, though. Don't think we're in the US. I think we may be someplace Spanish speaking, although I'm not entirely certain about that. Gepa. Too many bloody trees blocking the view of the sign. Padre Las Casas. Algo chico. Okay. Mejorando los caminos. Mejorando Chile, weón. Puente Momber, Padre Las Casas. Territorio. Y no sé más. A ver. Ok, estamos en Chile entonces, po. Entonces estamos más bien en el sur. Estamos en el Guaymapu. Villarrica, Purranque, Pucón. Padre Las Casas. I know I've heard of Padre Las Casas. Where exactly it is, like Valdivia, por ahí tal vez, María Nieves, Loncoche, La Paz. Lo Potrero, La Hortensia, Padre Las Casas, sur de Temuco, por supuesto. Okay. Okay, there we go. Guido Beck, Circunvalación, Parque Corbalán, Camping Villanieve. Okay. Puente Momberg. Puente Viejo, Puente Cautín. Chen Chen Kai Kai. Pizarro. Oh, hell. Well, not too bad. 49.51. Alright, this feels very European. I think we might be. Rua de Baixo. Yeah, I feel like this is Portugal. This does not feel Brazilian somehow. We can know for sure by looking at that stop sign. Either it says Paris, either it says stop, or it doesn't. If it does not say stop, then we are in Brazil. If it does, then we're in Portugal. Yeah, we are definitely Portugal. That sign design is European. They don't do them like that in South America. Looks like wine country to me. Not too bad. Not breaking my record on this round, but not doing badly at all. Oh, hang on. That was something. Attention, passage d'écolier. Okay, we're in... most likely in France. Theoretically, there are a couple of other French-speaking places that we might be. But France seems the most likely. Where in France is another question, and so far I haven't seen anything that tells me. And I don't think it's the south of France, though. Let's see. Mériel, Centreville. Okay, D9, D3. Je connais pas Mériel. Mon souhait, la croix verte. Yeah, we are definitely in France. Those road numbers clear that up. But the trouble is, those departmental routes are actually not easy to track down. They don't seem to have any rhyme or reason to the route numbers. Bailly en France. Okay. beach? Okay. Intermarché Super Beach. Super Beach. Okay, Golf de Beach. Okay, I have to visit this place sometime, just for the place name. Hello, Elite. Welcome to the stream. Thank you. I definitely have my moments. Where are you joining us from? Oh, hang on. That might give us useful information. Montmorency. I know Montmorency in Montreal, but I do not know where the original Montmorency is. So in Provence. I don't think we're in Provence. Château de Lisieux en fleurs. Neufchâteau, Metz. Mulhouse. Ah, that's strange. Just going to take a wild stab at it. Oh! Ah, that's where Montmorency is. Okay. 23,193. Not my best score, but not terrible. Now we're gonna change gears a little bit. Play a little chess. Play some blitz. Thank you. lot of people forget that knight on g5 is undefended until they open up the dark squared bishop. Let's get castled so we can actually start. Find a safer spot for my queen first. Have a little tactical find, potentially. Might be able to win at least part of a rook. And get some nice central pawn positioning. I'm going to win a rook now. Is he can't white can't take back because my knight is defending that bishop, and then it's not just a rook that I'm winning, it is a queen. So I'll send them back home. See, bring the bishop into the attack. Oh, I'm winning a queen. Neat. Well, not yet winning a queen, but coming close to it. Attack the queen. Okay, this king is taking a nice long walk. And that is GG. This is Swiss German that I have Lichess set on. Du spielst mit Schwarz. Schwarz. Okay, what's going on there? Why? It seems like a strange place to be putting that knight. Very early appearance from the queen as well. Might be able to get some forking action here if Lux does not realize what's about to happen. Lux did realize. That defends this pawn one more time and also attacks the queen. I have a bit of an edge in development here. My pieces are pretty much all out. And my king is now castled to safety. There, actually, don't mind that at all. Because now my rook is looking straight at the home of this king. I mean, assuming that any castling happens. Okay. I wouldn't mind trying to find a way to trap this queen, pin the queen to the king with that bishop. But right now this pawn is preventing that, and I also don't have any place to defend with. So that is a problem for later. Always good to have a rook on the same file as the queen. This also boxes in that dark squared bishop. There's not really a whole lot of places for that bishop to go right now. I've got the center basically locked down for the moment, which is always important. There's a fork here. There's another fork. So if I move this pawn here on d4 up to d3, oh no, already dealt with that particular weakness. So oh shit, that was not a great move just now. I will have to make up for it somehow. Thing about blundering a piece is that it's really a sacrifice that you just haven't figured out the right compensation for. Compensation is sometimes gradual. I've now whittled the 6-pawn material lead there that looks had to just a single pawn. Now we're equal on material, and 2 rooks actually is in many respects better than having just 1 queen. That wasn't great. Lost on time. GG. That was a bit of a roller coaster. Okay, I'm gonna just take a quick break. Back in just a few minutes. Hi, and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I am Elise, translator, editor, and writer with 20 working languages, and this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games.
Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital.
還元一級の先というのは本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は
Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Morfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okuladayım. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is squab, and that also means elephant.
Ça, c'est ça, ça, che c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça. Sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyperpolyglotting avec Élise. Moi, c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça, c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout GeoGuessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Nej. Nej. Man. Igen. Jo. 5 ducks are drinking wine. Barbaz, okay, Barbaz is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon.
Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. Sotto 4 grossi sassi, 4 grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Facile. Sì, ecco, la gente... è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo. Io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma poi dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io.
I buy a computer or quack, and here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or, quack sounds vaguely like hogun and hok, the hok in hogun in Korean, or waku in Japanese, and that appears it is the exact same kind of character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur sachant chasser, ses chassés sont son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach, drum dank dem dicken Dachdecker, dass der dicke Dachdecker dir dein Dach deckt. Hola y bienvenidos al directo de Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. Yo soy Elisa, traductora, escritora y editora y comunicadora social con más de 20 idiomas de trabajo. Y aquí vamos a estar jugando videojuegos, sobre todo GeoGuessr, y hablando de idioma, la mejor forma de aprenderlo y caleta más. Zwei Zwetschgenzweigen zwitscherten zwei tschechische Schwalben. Tres tristes tigres tragaban trigo en un trigal en tres tristes trastos.
Oh, I see. This is Diche Ishai Fui, which means do you want food? But yeah, are you hungry? That's also. How are the boys? Cocine da boy. Posso Milao. Pote. Buenese. Proteine. Utros. Totopolo. In the designated chicken eating area, obviously.
Okay. And I'm back. Let's see. See if there are any videos to talk about that might be interesting. 2,000 hours of learning Spanish explained in 59 minutes. We were looking at this actually like 2 weeks ago before the Polyglot conference. It was very interesting. This guy was talking about how he has actually been bridging the gap from comprehending Spanish through lots and lots of comprehensible input to also being able to talk in it, which is a topic that is often very challenging because it's very, with comprehensible input, it's quite easy to get to a point, if you have the right kind of input, to actually be able to understand what you're hearing. But it's much more complicated to actually get from there to actually being able to produce it.
It's not going to get you to fluent communication alone, but it might help you bridge the gap.
Gonna move that back a little bit.
If I was learning Swahili or Mandarin, I'm sure I would be doing a great deal of language exchange. But no, I said the plan would be to have a budget, and pay a native speaker to speak with me, everything in Spanish, and not necessarily ask for a lot of
do some puzzles,
didactic corrections, as much as just have a good conversation with somebody. But I don't think I'm quite ready. And I don't know. I'm learning this as I go, but I think there's probably a limit to talking to yourself.
Right. Yeah, I see it. Well, I'm doing that myself now with German. I'll talk about my example in a moment, but yeah, I look at them as a stepping stone, because what you're describing is exactly what I wanted to talk about, meaning the transition between simple, relax, in your couch at home, to real life communication, and that's a huge gap, right? When it comes to, the ability to communicate, the stress you're gonna be under, and so that's why activities like the ones that you just mentioned, like talking to yourself, there might be a limit to it. It's not gonna get you to fluent communication alone, but it might help you bridge the gap between just input and real life output, right?
Win a queen.
Which is stressful for most people, including myself, of course. But not just stressful, but you might actually not be ready to do that right away.
I think you're right. I'm not ready to
hang on.
Have a
I don't think this is winning
conversation with a native speaker. It would be infantile.
Yeah.
But I see your term of art, that it's a gap.
Yeah.
Is brilliant. We have, shall we say, 3 gaps in learning a language. The first one is, how do you get a grip on a language that you don't know anything? And, the teachers, the content creators they're developing methodology for that with stick figure drawings and repeating and, the TPR approach, where they hold up things and gestures. And so the way people start, the content creators are closing that gap down a bit. And then the next gap is that time where impatience is functioning, and you're at an intermediate level, and you think, wow, I just kind of hit a plateau, which I think is a myth. I think it's just an opinion people develop because it's just a learning process and it doesn't stop. But that middle ground, and that's the gap that I'm trying to help people with. I recognize that a lot of people studied English in school the way I studied German in school, and now as adults, they can't understand native content,
Yeah.
and they can't speak. So that intermediate the intermediate stage is a great place for channels like mine to function, to bring people up to the next challenge, which is the gap you're focused on here, which is the transition to output.
Right.
But if we've been conscious of making this an enjoyable, positive experience, stressing, why would we all of a sudden say, okay, now it's time to pile a lot of stress on ourselves and immediately do output?
Yeah, and I mean here, stress is a key factor in all of this. It's worth noting, because the thing is, stress actually turns out not to be good for the acquisition process. Especially early on, you want a really low stress environment. So putting yourself in a situation where you're going to be afraid of making mistakes, especially early on when you're, just beginning to turn all this input and this understanding of the language that you've begun to develop passively into output, can actually be counterproductive. Now, one of the things he was talking about in earlier on in this video was like just talking to oneself. And that is actually something I have also often used to kind of get to the output stage. Okay, so the issue here is we've got a promotion threat. I don't think there's a lot I can do about that specifically. I need to be maintaining check, because otherwise they can just promote and then I'm screwed. So I think I have to go here. Ooh. Oh, that was the first thing I considered. And then I was like, no, maybe not. But, oh yeah, because you can go and just promote the pawn after that. Yeah, of course.
And turn this into a miserable, hateful experience.
Right.
No, I'm not going to do it. So I'm lucky. I don't have a job that requires me to speak. I don't have to go. Actually, if I went to a grocery store and needed to buy, good. If I needed to be polite to somebody on public transit, I'm good. I was in a grocery store not too long ago, and a fellow, an expat from Mexico, was at the meat counter, and he was talking to the person serving at the meat counter, and he was talking to him in Spanish. And the guy behind the counter was not having it. He just didn't figure out what this guy was doing. And so I turned to him and I said, "Wait till I come." And he sparkled. And he told me he wanted 1.5 pounds of the burger. But he told it to me in Spanish. And I told the guy at the counter he got what he wanted. It was really weird. Here I am, this Spanish speaker wannabe, and I'm functioning as a translator in a grocery store.
Yeah. That can happen earlier than you expect.
I'm a great linguist, but it's part of that experience of functioning. It was great entertainment. It's nice. It's nice to help another human being. It's also nice to play tricks in languages. You've probably experienced something like this where you are in a situation and somebody's saying something they don't expect you understand. And then you surprise them. The internet is covered with videos on that. I was on a dive trip in the Caribbean, and there were two young women, good divers, nice people. They were diving with us. They were Germans, and they were speaking with each other in German. And they knew we didn't speak any German. They knew they were safe. They were very gossipy. And they didn't understand for a moment that I understood pretty much everything they said. They were a little naughty. And we were saying goodbye, and I said goodbye in German. They said, "You understood us?" I said, "Yeah."
Yeah, that's fine. That's funny.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not.
You
not
do
necessarily very
surprise
mature of
people
me, but
occasionally.
It's a human experience.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it happens to me at times here because I live in Krakow, which is a pretty international city, like mainly European languages, but you get to listen to Spanish, Italian, French, German all the time. So yeah, it happens to me all the time. Like I understand what people are talking about, and it's funny with German because I've talked about this recently. That I'm sure there's a name for it. That there's an effect that because I'm learning German now. Before I started, I thought there was no German people here, right? But now that I understand the language, there's German
yes.
people everywhere. Because before I got
It's like
started,
the
it
myth
was
that there are
just obvious.
Chileans
My
everywhere.
brain wasn't paying attention to them, but now it is. They're like, whoa, where did all these German people came from? Huh?
Yeah, it's like the hunter who goes out in the jungle and comes back and says, "I didn't see any tigers," and the wiser, more experienced person said, "They saw you."
Exactly. Yeah. But
Now, all those German people were there.
of course. Yeah. I just my brain wasn't paying attention. Well, it was just nice to my ears. So that's why. But
Probably the funniest dumb thing like that I ever did, I spent 6 weeks in Turkey.
okay.
And so I learned some polite phrases, travelers stuff, right, left, up, down, yes, no, please, thank you. And I love the word in Turkish for thank you, for thank you, which is teşekkür ederim. And it's just a beautiful word. So I was near the Blue Mosque in the Hagia Sophia, and I was walking with some friends, English speakers from the U.S. and Canada, and we were just walking around looking for a place to eat. And the rug merchants would jump on in. They would talk to you in various languages, German, French, English, and they were amazing. But they wanted you to go drink tea and buy rugs. And this guy was grabbing onto us and really trying to monopolize our walk. And I turned to him and I just said, "Efendim, zannetmiyorum, teşekkürler." And that was, "My lord, sir, I don't think so, but thanks." And the response was he burst into laughter. Sorry.
Yeah, I've had this experience. It's like, I know a little bit of Turkish. Like, roughly, like, a little bit more than he does, clearly. Like, I can go beyond just sort of general pleasantries and stuff like that. But not much farther. And my experience with, like, Turkish people when I encounter them speak Turkish to them and stuff like that is they always, because I'm very good at pronunciation and I'm actually pretty good at, like, the structures of Turkish. And so they will often assume that I must speak much better Turkish than I actually do, and all of a sudden they're saying all sorts of things back to me in Turkish, most of which I do not understand, and I then have to, like, sort of convince them that I'm actually not as good at it as they think I am. And yeah, it's always like mildly awkward. Always like just sort of back up. Almanca lütfen, İngilizce lütfen. Anlamadım. And, English please, German please. I didn't understand that bit. That is one of my various. Somebody asked me at the conference actually, do I have any languages I've abandoned? And I don't really. I have languages I will eventually come back to. Turkish is one I keep coming back to every once in a while. Arabic's another one. I've made a lot of headway in Arabic in the past year, I think.
Because he could not expect that some obvious American tourist was going to talk to him in Turkish. But I credit myself for being a parrot because I don't speak Turkish.
Right. You just knew a couple of words, but
A clever parrot.
Nice. But it's
Clever parrot. That's good.
No, I really like what you said about patience because I'm talking to my personal experience now. I'm extremely patient when it comes to the input part, like I said. But because I know it takes time, so I'm perfectly fine. But I think the patience the impatience when it comes to the output might come from the fact that. So I'll talk about my example with German, right? So I believe I've got like 1,300 hours under my belt now. And I can understand so much. I mean, like native podcasts even. And I was recently in Germany in June in Berlin. And I understood everything. I mean, not everything, but I understood most of what people were saying. I tried to communicate a couple of times and I could, but I felt like if the conversation was to continue, I would have struggled to go deeper, right?
Am I taking this
So that's
bishop,
where I'm at.
or is
But I
there
think
a mating
the
net here?
impatience problem at this point comes from,
I don't think so. I think I'm taking the bishop.
like I said, I can understand so much that I'd love to be able to actually communicate. Because when you're starting out with the language, you don't know anything. So you're getting input, so anything is just wonderful to you, right? You're just getting exposed to a new language, so any progress is amazing. But now that I understand pretty much everything, that's where the impatience kicks in. So I say that's my case and a lot of people's case. I'd say that's the difference between being patient at the beginning when you just listen to the language versus now that I can understand so much that even though I intellectually understand that it takes time to get there, I don't know if subconsciously or at some, subconscious level, like I said, I want to speed up the process, because I can understand real people already.
The world needs impatient people because we get things done. I was born a crying child. I wanted more. I was impatient on day one. So I've never had any experience where I was laid back and chill and, relaxed. I've always been striving and trying to claw my way into things. But you can torture yourself. And, that's why I like the idea that if I have 2,000 hours of input, I should strive to, in a very relaxed way, acquire 200 hours or 300 hours. These are not absolute numbers. These are ballpark numbers. But on the order of 10% of my input, I would like as output.
Mm-hmm.
And then along the way, see how that worked out. My experience learning Spanish.
Okay, smothering mate.
Is a science experiment. So people looking at the video, they can see that what hair I have is a little on the gray side. I am not a teenager. I'm not a 30-year-old.
Could have fooled
me. So conventional wisdom, I couldn't possibly learn a language to fluency. That's absurd. That ship has already sailed. I'm too old. And so that's my null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is I'm too old to learn language. And so now I'm striving to learn language. It's been super fun. It's a game. I'm playing a game. And so the input is done. Yeah, I think this whole thing about learning Spanish for me is a game. I'm just playing the game. I want to know how it works, and I want to beat the null hypothesis. I'm going to prove to myself, I don't need to prove it to anybody else, prove to myself that I'm not too old and not too simple-minded to learn language. And then play the game. So the content is in the bag. I've got it. Now, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to have more content every day. Before I started with you this morning, I had an hour of content over coffee. But then the output is the next phase of the game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to turn it into a misery. I want to play the game. I'll talk to myself.
I mean, another thing that I often do, I mean, and this is where music is really useful, is just like learn to sing, find the lyrics to like songs that you like in your target language, and just learn to sing along with them. That is another thing, is you have to, part of it is just getting your mouth used to, and you know, your whole articulatory apparatus, your throat and everything, getting used to actually making the sounds and making coherent utterances in the language. And so if you're like singing along with stuff, that is one way you can really kind of get used to having the utterances come out. Also, I mean, there are all sorts of things short of like putting yourself in a situation where you actually are like talking with people if you don't feel quite ready for that, if that makes you nervous, where you can get used to actually saying things without having to worry about making a mistake because there's nobody around. I mean, he talks about talking to himself. I also find like reciting scenes from like shows or movies in your target language, that's a thing I've often done. To the extent that like Japanese X-Files, there's a fair bit of it I know by heart because I've watched it a whole lot, and in the process of making sense out of what I was hearing, I would be reciting these dialogues and things. And yeah, so there are lots of things like that that you can use to sort of get yourself ready to actually talk with people.
And then I'll look for opportunities to talk to other people. And you know, this has been a big effort over a period of a couple of years, so I should be prepared to pay someone. I don't want them to correct my grammar. I want them to be an attentive listener who will draw more language out of me by asking probative questions. Yep.
Yeah, I continue to think this guy must be a lawyer.
He
uses words like term of art and probative question.
And I address a Spanish speaker in Spanish, and I struggle and fumble and waste their time. I have to remember, they're not my teacher. They're a citizen, and they have no duty. Right. They've got a duty to be civil, but they don't have a duty to teach me Spanish. If, on the other hand, I've played the game, I've got a lot of input, and I've been talking to myself a lot and built the ability to put sentences together and express thoughts pretty well, I should be willing to pay a teacher to participate because they're paid to participate. And I think that's my plan. I can tell you my plan is simple. I'm going to continue for a number of months talking to myself every day. And then I'm going to go on italki, and I'm going to sign up, and I'm going to get a tutor, or maybe more than one over time, find somebody that I enjoy talking to, and pay them for their time so that I'm not taking unreasonable advantage of somebody.
Sounds like a good plan.
Well, we can revisit this, 6 months or a year from now.
Right.
And so one of the things is, I'll tell the truth. I don't want to be a phony. That's like the worst thing in my world is somebody who's a fake or a phony. No, I want to be straight up honest. So I can report back to you how this plan worked, and I'm willing to do it.
Absolutely. I'll be more than happy to hear from you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Be interested too.
I'm
I mean, the
doing that
methods
with
he's
German.
talking about
First
are
of all,
definitely
just
things that
like
make
talking
sense.
to
They're things that
myself.
I do, and I
First
think
of all, I gotta
have worked
say
really
that
well.
it's more
Talking to
enjoyable than I
animals.
thought it would be.
Oh, it
First
is
of all,
also another
'cause,
thing. Very low
just
stress.
The joy of realizing that you can do it, that you can talk, but yeah, just like you said, as you're driving, what you're looking at, or the podcast you just listen to, so talk about what you just listened to, or things that you like, or what you did yesterday.
Oh
whatever it is.
shit! That was so obvious.
It's actually fun.
A fork.
And I was thinking that you even get to be silly about it, meaning the accent and so on, because no one's listening. Back to what you said.
Yeah, you can just say random bullshit,
Yeah.
and it's cool because there's nobody around to critique it.
Exactly.
Yeah, or you can play games.
Yeah,
with
do
the
voices
language,
and stuff.
And there's nobody there to judge you. There's no reason to be embarrassed.
It's fun, and honestly as well, like pretty quickly I realized that it helps with pronunciation because I've been listening to German for quite a while, like 1,300 hours, like I said. So in my head, it's already been a while that I've been building sentences and imagining conversations in my head. But the moment you actually start speaking, wow, is that, that's shocking because in your head, everything sounds wonderful. Like, oh, I get it, But then you actually use it and it's like, wow. I didn't think it was so hard to pronounce it or things like that.
Yeah, on the fly it's harder.
They take a little while to wrap your mouth around them, but they do come. If you look online for English speakers, there are a lot of people teaching us, or trying to teach us how to roll our R's, trying to learn Spanish. And they've got models and sketches and where you put your tongue and practice things. And I didn't do any of that. I did nothing. So one of my input sources was Espanol Juan Fernandez, who has a podcast, and he's a fellow originally
Like
from
the islands.
Canada, and he has a lot of input. So I'm listening to this guy, and
Oh,
he was
right, because I
talking
knew about the pond.
about a word and an expression and a circumstance, and he said the word that was a little bit of a jargon term for disgust, but not quite, and it was repelús. And I'm in traffic, and I'm listening to him, and I just said the word repelús. And I realized I had rolled an R.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you, as a native speaker, might say, yeah, you did it lousy, though. But
Pretty good though.
Yeah, well, you got to
not
start someplace.
Too bad. And then later, somebody said guitarra, and I thought, wow, for an American saying that word, that is amazing. Then I don't want to lavish praise on myself as much as marvel at how the input can allow your brain. Our brain is designed to do this job.
Yeah.
We evolved to acquire languages, and it was only economic features and organized educational behavior that made it difficult for adults to learn languages.
Right.
You live in Europe. People know multiple languages, and you probably don't have anybody take you aside and say, Alvaro, I just can't seem to learn these languages. Now it's normal.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of it has to do with like
I was going to
just
say
the
that it
access
depends
to
on the
content.
country and where in the country. Because I'm from a small town in Spain, so knowing multiple languages is not as common.
No.
But I mean, English, most people can sort of navigate the English language in a way, right? But
Nah, the bishop
yeah,
pair.
I forgot what I was going to say. Something about European language.
But I think we're, as a species, designed to acquire language.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a little disingenuous to say, well, I just can't learn a language. I'm not good with languages. But no, your DNA is good with languages. You are a human being.
Shit, what was that? Oh,
There are
hell
no
yeah,
populations
obviously.
of humans who can't learn to speak their first language.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I mean, when you know languages and you, and this subject comes up, you always get people saying, oh, they're just, they're crap with languages or whatever. And the thing is, and I would imagine there may even be people watching this and who think that. And no, you have not been exposed to effective ways of doing it. You've probably learned stuff in school, and it was probably done in a not particularly useful way, because the approaches that are often used, particularly in like North America, to teaching foreign languages tend to be not particularly effective. It's all very much like, okay, we're going to do conjugations now or whatever. But if you actually start with something more effective, you start just with comprehensible input, with like finding stuff that is interesting to you in your target language and watching that and paying attention to it. If it's the right stuff that gives you just enough of a foothold to begin making sense out of what they're saying, you will find yourself understanding it just gradually as your brain begins to make sense out of it. It's an unconscious process.
They don't decide.
Yes, I think what you said, that the education system makes you believe that you're not good at language.
Yeah.
Because, again, you're trying
Because
to
the
learn
education
language
system isn't very good at
in a
teaching them a
completely
lot of the time.
different artificial way, which is obviously not going to work. But when you see other people that actually can speak other languages, you think you're the problem, right?
Right. So obviously enough.
Yeah, if you look at their cases, they probably did something different. Or besides the classes that were helping you or them either, they were listening to podcasts, they were watching YouTube videos, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So that's the part that was helping them, but you didn't see it.
Or they were dating a native speaker.
For example. That works, yeah.
It definitely can.
Yeah, I came up with a rather grotesque simile to what we do with language learning in schools, and that is you go to a pet store and you want to buy a pet, and they show you pets that have been disassembled, and they show you the heart and the lungs and the bones.
Oh, Jesus.
And let you
This really is a bit of a gruesome analogy.
Dog bones and dog
Not a
fur.
bad
I
one,
want a
but
dog.
I think it's
I
accurate,
want the
but
whole
ooh,
thing.
that got
And
dark
I
quickly.
don't want to study, the inner workings of a dog. I don't need the structural knowledge of a dog. I just want a sweet little puppy with a cold nose.
Correct. And I'm thinking that even then, when you buy the different pieces of the dog, the different organs and so on, then you're forced to build it in real time as you're speaking to the other person. You know what I mean? You don't like have time at home to assemble it like an IKEA.
We've just
piece of
gone
furniture,
into a
right?
very, very
On
macabre
top of that,
analogy
you're forced
here.
to,
Jesus.
build the dog with the pressure
That's
of
nasty
yeah.
shit.
Well, when you build the dog that way, what do you wind up with? A dead dog. If we really carry it to its grotesque end, if you assemble
It was
parts
a
of the dog,
grotesque
you end up
beginning,
with a dog
though,
that's
actually.
separate, because you can't animate it. And what we're doing by this natural method of learning language is we're building a live dog.
Correct. Yeah, good one. I like it.
It's a little grotesque. I have not.
A little. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
not
just a
that
little. God, that was...
a little grotesque.
Right, because
Oh.
talking about your channel, you started your English channel like a couple of months ago, right?
Well,
And you like mainly what you're doing is creating stories or talking about life in English, right? Or tell us about it.
so the channel Input English, got my coffee cup, Input English. That's also my domain name. I have inputenglish.com, and that's currently forwarded to my YouTube channel. So you don't get a separate pay me kind of a thing. No, it's forwarded to the channel. Input English grew out of passion created by Pablo Ramon and Dreaming Spanish. Because Pablo, when he was talking
That
to
is a
us,
channel I like
his
quite a bit. I don't
followers,
completely agree with everything that they have to say about their approach. I don't think, like, they have this idea that reading at a certain is counterproductive until a certain point, and I don't really agree with that. I'm very much an advocate of reading early if you've got stuff that you can read. I don't think that it actually, I mean, like, I think their issue with it is they think that might get in the way of developing a natural accent, and I don't think so. I've not found that to be the case in my experience, anyway. But in terms of interesting, like, quirky, entertaining, comprehensible input in Spanish, with a wide variety of, like, regional dialects and things like that, yeah, that is a good channel, I would say. I don't agree with them on the reading part, I think, but on just about everything else, I think they make perfect sense.
listeners said, we need more content in all languages, so if you speak a language other than Spanish, why don't you start making content? And I thought, me? And then I thought, oh man, this will be fun, because it's a game. So I had to learn a lot, because my background, I'm not a videographer, I don't know anything about lighting, I'm okay with computers, but I had to learn a lot. Editing software, oh my God. So,
this is true.
Through this year until, pardon me, this summer, I was learning. And then August 7th, I published 41 videos. And
All at once? Holy
I got
shit.
it. It was the craft I was learning. But since then, I've put out one video a day. And the channel's taking off. And my goal is not making a lot of money. No, my goal is to make the videos that I would want in English if I was learning English. My working assumption, if I am in this channel, I studied English in school, I learned some words, I learned some grammar, I learned some phrases, but that's, years ago, and now I'm not comfortable listening to native content, and I'm not comfortable saying stuff, and I want English. I enjoy it. English is everywhere. It's like cockroaches. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
But
I mean, and this is
everywhere-
fundamentally a big part of why people who are speakers of other languages seem to be better at learning English than speakers of English are at learning other languages, because there's just so much English around. No matter where you are. Like, if you turn on the radio, you're in, like, Germany, with the exception of certain stations that are specifically dedicated to, like, German language music or something like that, you're going to get a whole lot of English. You're going to be listening to a lot of English. There's all sorts of English all over the place. Not to mention, there's an internet, and there turns out to be quite a bit of English on there. So you have, no matter how the how it's done in school, you have all of this comprehensible input in English, even in a non-English speaking country, that is just available to you with very little effort. So, I mean, naturally you're going to pick it up.
At a level that people find it easy to use. So I'm creating the videos that I would want if I was learning English, at the A2 level.
Yeah.
Knowing a few words, but not being comfortable.
Oh, I consider that.
And I'm not doing super beginner videos. You won't see me drawing a lot of stick figures and, talking about coffee cup and hair and nose. There are there's a lot available of super beginner. You could argue you always need more, but I'm trying to serve the advanced beginner, intermediate. I could only make so much content.
Sounds like he's making quite a lot of content. A video a day is not. That's
if I make a video,
if you're doing quality stuff, that's a lot of work.
Every 4 or 5 days, I make an hour's worth of content, and so people need hundreds and hundreds of hours of content.
I don't know. I'm just tired.
For me, an hour of content made no difference. I couldn't tell. But 300 hours of content, I could really tell a difference. So my goal is to make 300 hours of content for people. And
oh, I see what I'm doing here.
A while to do that.
Whatever it takes, right there.
Yeah. Well, I'm taking it seriously. I get up in the morning and record chores done, and then record a video. And I'm now stacked several days in advance. So if I stopped making videos, they would still upload for the next several days.
Hang on.
Right.
Am I trying to block
Yeah,
white
well, it's
getting
true that
over
it is a bit different
here?
because we've all been in contact with it beforehand. So it's
Or am I
hard to
trying
find someone
to-
who's starting from scratch, right? But that's why you don't need as many, like you said. If there's a comprehensive input Turkish channel, for example, you might need to start from scratch, like sticky figure, like you said, and pointing at things. And with English, not necessary for the most part, I guess, because it's already somewhat comprehensible, right? For most people, so what you're doing, you're just telling stories or talking about life. Adjust it in a way you communicate a little bit so it's more comprehensible, right?
Right. Well, so yesterday I filmed a video and I edited it and then I watched it. And I looked at it and said, well, it's not good enough. Because I must have started out with a bunch of coffee because I was talking way too fast. Now, YouTube is super useful because you can hit the controls and dial it back. But I didn't want to impose on my viewers, so after we finish here, I'm going to go back out to the park and make that video over. But it's going to be a little slower, a little more relaxed, and it's going to be better. I don't publish every video I film. We are responsible for our quality.
Good point. Yeah, it takes time to perfect the skill, right? Because you're using the native language.
Yeah.
Naturally, you speed up, right? Yeah, if I get enthusiastic about a topic, I'm going to go a mile a minute. I'm going to go fast. No, and I got to be patient. This is a great missed opportunity. We had a fellow visiting us from Argentina at the university when I was university faculty. And he was here from Argentina, and he was telling me at the university that he didn't like the room he rented. He thought that the people were treating him terribly, and he just hated it. And I said, well, we have a guest room. Why don't you move into the guest room and I'll drive you to work every day. It'll be fine. We're in the same department. And so he lived with us 2 different times for weeks and weeks. I didn't talk to him, and I didn't have him speak Spanish to me. This was decades ago.
Oh, really?
But this experience of having him as an English learner, I learned to speak over a period of months. I learned to speak clearly, precisely, and patiently.
Yeah.
And that's how I make the videos.
It
Oh,
takes
hell,
more mental
yeah.
effort on your part, but that's what the other person needs. Because I teach Spanish this way. Like besides the YouTube videos, I'm a Spanish teacher, so I'm used to doing this. And after an hour, after a class, wow, my brain is that's mental workout. You're just thinking about what you're gonna say. Do I need to slow down or not? If I use this word, are they going to understand, or should I use this other one? Should I use an image to help them understand? Point at it, my goodness. It's like your brain working all the time during that hour. Plus, you're speaking most of the time because they need the input first, right? So it is definitely talented.
Yeah,
That's what they need. That's what they need.
a conscientious educator is tired all the time.
So, yep. Okay, so I'll leave the link to your channel or anything that you want me to link to. But like you said, your website linking to your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Your YouTube channel would do it. Right.
Yeah, it's Input English. InputEnglish.com is my YouTube channel, Input English. And, all are welcome. When people leave me messages, they're just so positive. I've not been trolled or had any complaints or vicious disagreements. I had one fellow saying, well, there may be some room for some disagreement here. This is the way I take it. And he had a point. So I celebrated it. I said, yeah, that's another way to look at that. Agreed, and we remain friends.
Cool. Yeah, that's even. I'd say that's even necessary. The problem is most people, I know, like that first. Right. That when you disagree with someone, we go to the extreme right away. Sorry.
Right.
There's friction. We're not hearing. We're not hearing the point because it hits our ego right away, right?
Yeah. Well, I try not to draw a sword. No, it's been very positive, and we have to accept each other. And the other vibe I'm really striving for is I'm not a guru.
Riveroon. Yeah, I totally get that. I have this experience too.
Super expert. I'm just an honest guy trying to do a good job. And the reason I'm making this content is not because I've got a whole bunch of stuff to beat into people. No, I'm just trying to make a useful resource because other people did that for me.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes you feel better about yourself too, which is priceless, to be honest. Yeah.
So a recent YouTube video said being on YouTube is an emotional roller coaster.
Yes,
and
it is.
I heard him and thought, why are you telling me that? And then I thought about it, and it literally is, because you look at your views and they're down, or you look at their views and they're up.
Or you actually, you've lost a couple of subscribers. It's like, I mean, I'm up to 377 now, thanks to everyone who subscribed. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you did.
But, you know, every once in a while, I will have, like, one, it will go down by one, which isn't a whole lot, but it's like, you do have this mini existential crisis where it's like, okay, yes, that isn't that many people. Also, sometimes people, like, I'll get automatically unsubscribed, but did I fuck up somehow?
Where you look at the comments, and there are a lot of them, and so it's tempting to tag your mood, your attitude, to the information that YouTube is providing you, and I just have to relax and just let it be because I can't change it. And just keep putting out good content. And I haven't had anybody say, your videos stink, I don't understand why you're wasting your time, and I'll never be on this channel again.
And, like, if you do get that, a lot of the time, I mean, unless you are just making asshole content for shitheads, which, I mean, that is an entire genre on YouTube. It's the algorithm even quite likes it. They're big fans of asshole content for shitheads. But, like, if you're getting that and all you're doing is, and you do not fall into that genre, then usually it's just somebody has decided that they want to, their thing is, like, they want to be an asshole in YouTube comments, because that's such a unique thing. You never get, like, assholes in YouTube comments. The YouTube comments are not at all, like, notorious for the horrible shit that people say.
That never happens.
I'm talking about generally. My comments are pretty nice, actually.
So it can be tricky. Yeah.
I generally get very nice comments.
Like I said, you feel better about yourself, and because, like, for example, recently the reason I started talking about output more recently is because, so I used to believe input was the only thing you needed, and like I said, I still believe it's the most important thing. But I've sort of changed my mind about output, to be honest. So I started talking about it because that's my truth, that's what I feel. So I wanted to talk about it, and I changed my mind because 2 or 3 years ago, I created content around the idea that you don't need output.
Yeah.
Input is enough, right? And I'm starting to realize that I think I was wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do, I would say. I think it depends entirely on what you're trying to do. If your goal is to be able to read and understand, and you don't have much use for talking, then, I mean, then input will be plenty. But if you actually intend to have a conversation, then having some sort of, gap bridging approaches, things that help get you just comfortable with talking, really, would also be important. I mean, input is the most important part, because it is what actually creates the substrate, so to speak, from which any kind of output can come. But, it's at a certain point you have to talk to people. I mean, you have to, talk in the sense, and just, make the words come out of your mouth, even if nobody's around, or nobody's around who can understand, talk to your dog or something like that. But at some point, if you intend to talk, you are going to have to do talking. Ja, also sehr gut. Das hat wie immer sehr viel Spaß gemacht. Es war sehr interessant. Ja, hab ja neue und alte Bekannte und Freunde gesehen. Es war sehr schön.
About it that way, because that's what I feel, and it makes me feel better about myself too. Because I'm being honest with, to everyone. And
I think you're absolutely right. I was led to believe, based on what I had listened to and read on parental input, is that was the end all and do all, and that's it. We're done. Nothing else to be said. And then just like you, it's like, how come I can't talk? How come I can't find words? I know the words, but they're hard to find. They're in there. And
Yeah, I mean, and this is a problem that people have in their native language too. I mean, and it has a lot to do because it's partially it's psychological. Sometimes nervousness, fear of embarrassment or whatever can cause you to stumble a bit. Sometimes not being sure that you're all that confident that you know what you're talking about can do it. Sometimes simply not having a clear plan about where your sentence is going can do that. Then you just sort of trail off or whatever. Being like really good at talking, being able to speak confidently, there are lots of factors involved in that. I mean, and really, like, the linguistic aspect of it is in some ways the least of it. It is very much, it has a lot to do with the context that you're doing it in, the people you're talking to, how you feel about the entire thing, like, all sorts of different things. And some of that, you can practice. Some of it you can practice just by doing it and stuff like that. And other things, and, other aspects of it is just contextual. It is a separate thing in many respects from just being able to comprehend the language. And there are all sorts of factors that are not strictly linguistic that enter into it with the minute you start talking to people. Because, I mean, if you just, if you by default are somebody who is just nervous approaching people and talking to them, yeah, that is probably going to be the same in other, in other languages and stuff like that. And that isn't sort of a lack of knowledge of the language so much as just, you, for whatever reason, that makes you nervous, and then you just have to deal with that. But so there are definitely... Nee, also ich hab keinen Vortrag gehalten, aber es hat ja einige gegeben. Ich habe diesmal, also, war ich einfach zu müde.
now we're in this process of converting over. I think if time was unlimited, if we were doing this over a time scale that was unlimited, you might approach the point that you don't need to worry about output, that it just happens automatically. But we are adults. We're adults. We all have a huge vocabulary. We have a huge body of knowledge, experiences that we want to share with other people. We want to tell stories. And so I think that's where we get this sense of...
And, I mean, and here's also just another thing. I mean, I talk about this in terms of learning the language, but learning to talk, learning to talk in the language, which is sort of a subcategory of that, but that also involves things that aren't strictly involved in acquiring the language itself. I mean, one key thing is to make sure that you focus on the things that you actually want to be talking about, that you actually want to be doing. Make it interesting to yourself. You want to make sure that your ability to speak overlaps with the things you actually want to speak about. Otherwise, you're going to run into difficulties anytime you try to talk about stuff you actually want to talk about.
Urgency to go from input to output. And I'm okay with that, as long as I can figure out a hypothesis for how to do it without stressing myself out, without failing. And so that's how I came up with my game.
Yeah, and reading aloud is another good one.
The walk and talk, the drive and talk.
what he's talking about there is just talking to himself in the car or while he's walking around or something. I mean, other things that you could do is just reading aloud or acting. Like, I mean, I don't know, find like a famous monologue that you like or something like that from a play or a movie or something like that in your target language. Or if it's just a translated version of it. I mean, there's like the better known, the better known plays and films, you can find translated versions pretty easily. Like, actually right here, I'm looking at the complete works of Shakespeare in Korean. The section, his comedies anyway. And you just read the stuff out loud, you recite, and that will get your mouth used to it. It'll get used to you, like, bringing feeling into the use of the language and stuff like that. And it helps develop some of the confidence.
And then later I'm willing to pay, I'm going to budget to pay an instructor so that I'm not taking advantage of somebody at the grocery store, forcing them to listen to me struggle.
Yeah, you can always, the language exchange thing that you mentioned before, you can always find someone do half an hour and half an hour. You know, in case you don't want to find a tutor, I mean.
And that might be, I hadn't thought of that. But I think you're exactly right. Because, let's think about it. There are people in reciprocal situations.
Yeah.
Somebody who knows a lot of English, who's trying to start talking. They're in that special unstable time where they're trying to get output. I like it. You just gave me the most powerful advice that I'm probably going to get all week. I thank you. Because now I have a plan.
My pleasure, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to walk and talk, drive and talk, and going forward, get on Tandem, do some language exchange, try to find somebody I'm comfortable with, and then we'll do that split time half hour. Oh, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, I feel like when just starting this process of outputting, because again, the other person's feeling the same things you're feeling in the other language. So then I feel like empathy is easier in that situation.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I don't want somebody to correct me. I want somebody to engage.
Yeah, correction, active correction of errors is profoundly overrated. It does not, for the most part, actually help people learn the things that they're being corrected on.
And, there are subtle ways to correct people by restating it in a different way that's a little more artful. And you don't have to grab somebody by the throat and say, you just made a horrible mistake. Let me teach you how to say that correctly. No, you can just rephrase what they said in a different, more artful way, and then that's input.
Yeah.
Perfect. No corrections.
Like take a mental note and use that structure more often yourself. That's what I do as a teacher, of course, but there's like that,
Come on, get that
201 version, but.
Ah, damn it. I didn't mean to click away from there, although we are moving towards the time to wrap up.
I made a conscious effort to have conversations
See if there's anything really short we can do before I go off and work on making dinner things.
It's not going to get you to fluent communication alone, but it might help you bridge the gap between your input and real life output, right? Which is stressful.
Oh. That's already taken us way back. see what can we look at for a moment? Why Google Translate sucks at Chinese. Une anglophone choisit le français au Québec. Oh, look at this for a second. This is Talk Arabic Today. And one of the things I really oh, damn it, that's not what I was trying to do. Misclicked. There, no. Come on.
It's not going to get you to...
Here we go. This is Talk Arabic Today. And I like this channel for learning Arabic because what he does is he offers what I like to call priming. I'm going to give you the URL, drop that in chat for anyone who's interested. He looks at actual, like, authentic content in Arabic, in this case something from Al Jazeera Arabic, and breaks down certain aspects that you might not know, and then you listen to it.
Al-Mirkaba is a military tank used by the Israeli Defense Force. But do you know how it looked like from the inside?
Yes, this is a segment from Al Jazeera Arabic that he's going to be breaking down.
What the soldier sees around him when he is inside the Merkava? Well, in this video I brought you a small clip from a whole documentary made by Al Jazeera showing how a Merkava looks like from the inside. Of course, the goal is to learn Arabic and improve your vocabulary list to reach fluency as quickly as possible.
He has an interesting collection of content that he does this with. All sorts of stuff. They're like some of it's like there's some interviews with like pro boxers at one point, just random news clips, sitcom things. And you'll see how he does this as we move towards the end of today. See, first of all, I like this a lot. He's got the text, he's created subtitles, and not only are they subtitles, he's got the harakat, the vowels on there. So, dabbabatu mirkava تُعْتَبَرُ العمود الفقري للجيش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي.
عبقرية لجيش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي، وهي مصممة لحماية الجنود من الداخل. لكن كيف يبدو المشهد من داخل الدبابة بالنسبة للجنود؟ دعونا.
Holy shit! I'm actually understanding everything he's saying here. I've been watching. See, I mean, like the main thing I've been like watching to work on my Arabic, to on the sort of passive level, has very much been like Al Jazeera English and stuff like that, and Al Mayadeen, and also Palestinian food blogger Basil Al-Hajj. So yeah, I'm actually understanding a lot of this.
نلقي نظرة عليه. يتحكم بالدبابة 4 أشخاص.
يتحكم بالدبابة
خاص هم
So what he does is he plays the clip once with these great subtitles. I love these subtitles because, first of all, big enough. I find online a lot of Arabic text, the font size is like relative to other languages way smaller. I find it much harder to read as a result. I always have to magnify it. This is good font size, and he's got all the vowels on it, and he's going to go through this, and then after that he is going to break down words that people might not know to assist in this.
والمدفعي والملقن والقائد. يقود السائق الدبابة عبر المقود ودواسة الوقود والمكابح، وهي تشبه إلى حد ما في هذه الآلية قيم.
We don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm going to move ahead.
First of all, I'm going to show
okay.
you a list of nouns. Of
See,
course,
here
I
we
will
go.
Explain them in details. Just listen the logs and memorize. We start by the first noun.
Dababa. And see, again, I mean, what I like in terms of comprehensible input, we've got the word with the vowels, dababa, and you look at, and you've got a picture of the thing.
The baba is a tank. It is a military tank. It is used for both offensive and defensive operations. Moving to the second noun,
العمود الفقري.
عمود الفقري is the spinal column or the backbone. Metaphorically, العمود الفقري is used to describe something that serves as a central element, providing support to a larger system or organization. Third noun, al-mulaqim. Al-mulaqim is the feeder or the loader. In our case, al-mulaqim loads the guns of the tank. Next we have al-qa'id. Al-qa'id is the captain, the commander, or the commanding officer. It refers to someone who holds a position of authority and directing others in a particular group. And finally, the wasatul waqud. The wasatul waqud is the accelerator pedal or
Okay, and it is time to start wrapping up. But I mean, so he goes on and he explains all these terms and things like that, and then he plays it again with the subtitles in Arabic and English, and like the text changes color as it goes, so you can follow along more easily. Really good stuff. Thank you to everyone who's joined in today. I will be back tomorrow on Twitch at 4:30 p.m. more or less US Eastern Time, and I look forward to seeing you there. Yeah, I mean, it's great, and it fits in, like, if you're trying to learn Arabic to understand the news and stuff like that, then, you know, the terminology is definitely going to help you there. Have a good evening, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.